Welcome back, my fellow horror lovers, to another episode of Campfire Cannibals, where the only thing more disgusting than the horror is how we analyze it. I'm your host, Nova, and today we're tracking something special. The Australian splatterfest Body Melt, released in 1993 and directed by no other than Philip Brophy. This film is a twisted cocktail of body horror, dark comedy, and a sort of absurd take on the 90s wellness culture. Think body parts turning to mush, people hallucinating while their bodies betray them, sort of like those zombie ants, you know? And suburban life being a facade for the most grotesque drug experiment you have ever set your eyes on. This film is set in a suburban cul-de-sac called Pebbles Court. It's a quiet neighborhood where the residents unknowingly become subjects of Vimuville Health Farm's drug trials. But this isn't your average wellness retreat. Oh no. This is a place that's secretly experimenting on people with mysterious drugs that cause grotesque mutations, violent body breakdowns, and some of the most bizarre, over-the-top deaths in horror history. Right off the bat, we get an opening infomercial styled like a neon 80s fitness ad. It's absurd, it's campy, and it sets the perfect tone for the rest of the film. We meet Ryan Brennerman, a man working at the Vimuville Health Farm who's seen behind the curtain and isn't happy about what he's discovered. After a little bit of computer hacking and some classic man manipulation of his boss, Ryan decides he's had enough, in the worst possible way. He quits his job, but not before injecting himself with a glowing neon yellow substance. It's sure to change his life. Permanently. He then stumbles into a gas station, drinks an entire bottle of dish soap, and, get this, his throat literally splits open. But this isn't the kind of self-care they talk about on Instagram, folks. His death is just the beginning of the chaos. The neighborhood is filled with residents who, unbeknownst to them, are all living a real-life experiment. There's the fitness-obsessed couple, the overworked office guy, and some rebellious teens, all under the thumb of Vimuville. But these aren't just any regular suburbanites. Oh no, these guys are about to go through some seriously messed up changes. Tension ramps up as we watch a young couple go through a nightmare of their own when the wife, who's heavily pregnant, begins hallucinating a grotesque version of childbirth. It's both horrifying and a little comical. A dark satire on the glorification of pregnancy and the societal pressure that comes with it. This whole scene feels like a sick, twisted take on the pressure to, have it all. A perfect metaphor for the way society treats women's bodies, like objects to be controlled and dissected. Now, let's talk about the hillbilly restaurant scene. This is where the movie goes full Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets A Clockwork Orange. The rebellious teens, having stumbled upon a bizarre, grungy restaurant in the middle of nowhere, find themselves in a situation far worse than they imagined. One teen gets his genitals mutilated. Again, can't make this up. While the other discovers a dead body watching porn. And yes, it's as disturbing as it sounds. The atmosphere here is tense. The violence is unrestrained, and the gore is absolutely absurd. This scene is a perfect example of how the film makes sick humor with grotesque violence. It takes the absurdity of horror and runs with it, asking the viewer, how much weirdness can you handle? But it's not just about shocking the audience with bizarre imagery. It's about subverting expectations and using extreme body horror to comment on the disintegration. Sorry, that is such a tough word. The disintegration of social norms. The teenagers, just like the rest of the residents in the film, are completely out of their depth, just trying to get through the madness, but they are two victims of the same system. The film's style, from its retro VHS aesthetic to its grotesque practical effects, gives it a raw, gritty feel. The low-budget gore is far more effective than any CGI could ever be, and let's not forget the exploding penis scene. I mean, do I really need to say more? It's a chaotic mix of horror and humor, which is honestly the best part of Body Melt. The film knows its ridiculousness, but doesn't shy away from leaning into it, pulling you into a world where anything can happen, and it probably will happen. By the time we hit the end of the film, the whole wellness farm has turned into a death trap, and once idyllic suburban neighborhood is completely shattered. The residents who thought they were living their best lives are now trapped in an experiment gone horribly wrong. What started as a wellness scheme becomes a horrifying social commentary on corporate control and blind trust in a system that's already failing us. If there's anything to take away from Body Melt, it's that it's not just about the gore and the disgusting deaths. It's about how corporate greed, pharmaceutical manipulation, and our society's obsession with body image can lead to a catastrophic breakdown of everything we thought was safe, like your friendly suburban neighborhood or the gym that promises to change your life. This is more than just a movie. It's a wake-up call to the dangers of blind faith in wellness trends and the corporations that push them. And if nothing else, it'll leave you questioning the next wellness retreat you see advertised on your... So, from the beginning of the film, it is very obscure, really weird. You can tell that the art style is just a little bit off. It's almost as if someone is having some sort of delirium about their past. Like, I don't want to say dementia, but it's obviously not good memories, you know? I think the first scene that actually caught my attention was when Ryan drank the bottle of dish soap and his throat splits open. He actually plows into the cul-de-sac, crashing his vehicle and ultimately perishing. But there's, right before he dies, these tendrils, they look like vines. They're not like tentacles or, weird. It was weird. They look like vines. They come out of his neck, and they don't like suck up his face, or they just come out and like wave around. But I just thought there could have been so much more done with that scene. That would have been a great pick-me-up to start the film. Probably would have been better than the attacked placenta. Not gonna lie to you. If you watch the film, you'll notice that the movie itself kind of looks like it's breaking down. Like your grandpa's bootleg VHS from the weird part of the video store. That's not an accident. Body Melt uses this burnt, glitchy film aesthetic to mess with you. The frame stutters, flickers, sometimes even looks like it's melting. It's like the film is having a nervous breakdown right alongside the characters. Honestly, it's genius, because while these bodies are mutating, the movie itself feels unstable, kind of like it's part of the experiment. The editing becomes another hallucination, but this time, it's one for the viewer to experience. Just another symptom of this twisted wellness nightmare. It's raw, it's broken, and it's got that late-night cult-type energy that makes you feel like maybe you weren't supposed to find this movie. It really adds another level of intrigue to the whole viewing experience. The placenta scene in Body Melt is where suburban motherhood turns into full-on nightmare fuel. One moment she's hallucinating labor. The next, her placenta launches out of her body and attacks her husband like a slimy demon spawn, except there's no baby and no spawn. Just a fluid sac. It's gross. It's absurd. It's quite brilliant. The scene tears apart the glossy fantasy of pregnancy and replaces it with full-body horror. It's not just shock value, it's a brutal metaphor for how even the most natural parts of life can become monstrous under the right amount of pressure. Now, let's talk about the final scenes, because things go from gross to what the hell did I just watch? really quick. We've got these bodybuilder guys, juiced up and covered in neon goo, with these comically tiny chipmunk voices that somehow make it even more disturbing. They're practically not even human anymore. They're like mutant gym rats pumped full of rage and experimental supplements. Kinda like Hulk, but if Hulk was a gym bro who took too many protein powders and just burst. Then there's the boss lady, cool as ever in her lab coat of lies. She's still pretending Vimuville was a wellness center while people are literally melting around her. And she's got this collection, a full-on display of human ribs, like she's building a Pinterest board made of men she's ruined. By the time the detective shows up, it's too late. The whole wellness empire has caved in on itself, and everyone's either dead, mutated, or in the middle of their final goo phase. And that's what I love about Body Melt. It doesn't give you closure. It gives you a flexing, dripping, protein-fueled apocalypse, and then just cuts to black. Eat clean, die gooey. So what's the takeaway from Body Melt? Well, besides never trusting neon vitamins or weird cul-de-sac neighbors. It's a film that melts more than just flesh. It melts the illusion of safety, of wellness, and of suburbia. Under the pastel houses and protein shakes is a monster, and that monster is us. Or maybe it's capitalism. Or maybe it's just that one guy's exploding penis. Either way, Body Melt is disgusting, ridiculous, and brilliant. A perfect little mutation in the world of horror. It doesn't want to scare you as much as it wants to decompose your expectations. And it does that with guts, goo, and enough satire to choke a bodybuilder. If you're into horror that says, let's make you laugh and dry heave at the same time, Body Melt absolutely earns its place at the Campfire Cannibals table. That's all for this week's episode of Campfire Cannibals, where we roast the weirdest corners of horror and serve it up fresh. If you liked this episode, leave a review, share it with your mutant gym buddies, or whisper about it in the steam room of your local health spa. And remember, if your smoothie glows, your neighbors melt, or your placenta starts moving on its own, it's already too late. Stay weird, stay hungry. This is Campfire Cannibals, signing off.